we got to talk about Tony Buzbee. Now, we know Tony Buzbee has been facing a lot of struggles. Let's be honest. He recently dropped out of the lawsuit with Jane Doe. That got dismissed, right, with prejudice. So that's gone. Then we've got other lawsuits that Tony Buzbee was involved in. We know there was 20 plus. He recently filed to dismiss himself or to be removed from several of them. I believe the number was 9. So then the judge saw what was going on. You had an admonition from the judge to Tony Buzbee. And then we found out, according to the judge, that Tony Buzbee used someone else's ECF credentials to actually file or process or handle these claims in the first place without being admitted into the Southern District of New York. So now again, we see Tony Buzbee in the crosshairs of not only another situation, but another judge as well. So the lawyer that was being accused of letting Tony Buzbee use her credentials actually responded to what the judge said. So we've got that here, and shout out to Megan Cuniff for providing this information from the Cruz law firm. We're going to read this here in a second. But she says attorneys working with Tony Buzbee on the Diddy lawsuits, including the Jayz case, responded to the judge who said that Buzbee used her credentials. And we're going to read what she says here. We're going to read what she says here in this response letter in a second. But I want to do a little bit of a rewind and go back to what the judge actually said about Miss Cruz actually letting Tony Buzbee use her credentials. So what did the judge say? So we've got the judge here, Judge Mary V, because I'm going to mess up her last name. She's going back and forth and saying, okay, here's what we're dealing with. I've got an order that's going to deny Tony's motion. So we've got that, and denying his motion to withdraw. And the judge went through and explained all the reasoning why. Then we get into the second half of this. We get to the second half of the document, and the judge says this. Thereafter, defendants filed an opposition to Mr. Buzbee's application pro hoc vice admission in connection with the case, relying in part on the order of the grievance committee denying him admission to practice in the Southern District of New York, and on Mr. Buzbee's practice of filing cases and making submissions in cases without being admitted and otherwise failing to abide by the local rules of this court and ethical guidelines. So already here, the judge is saying Tony Buzbee again has a practice of doing this, a practice of filing things in courts in a district where he doesn't have the right to legally practice. And that was, again, another shot at Tony Buzbee by a judge, which isn't great. So his reputation is not looking good. I don't care what anybody says out here. Also, local counsel has now advised the court that the plaintiff's motion for Tony Buzbee to appear in this action pro hoc vice is formally being withdrawn. As such, the motion for admission pro hoc vice is denied as moot. Mr. Buzbee also submitted through local counsel to a motion to withdraw his appearance as an attorney of record until such time as he is admitted to practice in this honorable district. However, Mr. Buzbee has filed an appearance in this action. Rather, as stated above, Mr. Buzbee improperly filed and litigated this case using the ECF credentials of local counsel. All right, enter Miss Cruz. I'm going to talk about her in a second. And then it says, Mr. Buzbee improperly filed and litigated this case using the ECF credentials of local counsel, whose apparent complicity in his improper conduct may be grounds for sanctions. As such, the motion to withdraw is denied. And then this is where the judge gives a warning. Plaintiff's counsel is on notice that further failure to comply with the procedural rules that govern this court and her ethical responsibilities will have grave consequences. So it's clear here that she's talking about Miss Cruz. Now she responds in this letter. So what does she say? Writing this to the judge, she says, Dear Judge V, because I can't pronounce, we'll say Judge Mary, right? Dear Judge Mary, I write in response to your honor's order denying motions to appear pro hoc vice and to withdraw. In the order, your honor states that Mr. Buzbee improperly filed and litigated this case using the ECF credentials of local counsel, whose apparent complicity in his improper conduct may be grounds for sanctions. That means the judge is about to get her. And what does she say? She says, respectfully, that description is simply not true. Moreover, I cannot by my silence allow it to appear true. I am co-counsel with the Buzbee law firm in this and numerous cases relating to Sean Combs, both in federal and state court. The Buzbee law firm selected me to be co-counsel because I am a former prosecutor who has extensive experience representing victims of assault. Mr. Buzbee did not file or litigate this case with my ECF credentials, nor would I let him or anyone else do so. Y'all believe that?
Stop the cap.
I reviewed all the documents in this case and filed them under my ECF because I approved them. I have been working alongside the Buzbee law firm to bring justice to our clients affected by Mr. Combs. It is true that Mr. Buzbee signed the complaint and several other documents as my co-counsel. Well, that's a problem. If he wasn't admitted to, to the Southern District of New York, then how would he have been able to sign it? And maybe this is where the judge has an issue. I don't know if we'll see a response from the judge, but either way, let's keep it going. She says, at the time, I did not view that as problematic, nor did I view that as the entering of a formal appearance, and we apologize to the court for any misunderstanding regarding same and will be guided accordingly in future filings. We thank the court for its time and attention in this matter. A. Cruise. All right. So basically she's saying, hey, judge, I didn't know. I saw the documents. I was working with Tony. I just assumed that he had everything handled. It was all good. We were set, ready to go. He was allowed to create these documents. I reviewed them. They look fine. Then I went back and I filed them myself. So it's not like she logged in and said, hey, Tony, come on over here. You can go ahead and submit these. No, that's not the case. I hope we get a response from the judge here. Knowing how judges are, we may have that, or the judge may just say, okay, that clears things up, whatever. I don't care. Either way, you allowed this to happen, and you shouldn't have. Tony Buzbee shouldn't have been filing anything in the first place. Do your due diligence. And we're seeing this a lot in these cases where Tony Buzbee surrounding himself or participating in himself, instances where he's doing something he should not have done, or he should have just done more research and due diligence. So it seems to be a theme here. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments, in the chat. What is the judge going to do in response to this letter from the attorney Cruise? Let me know what y'all think.